Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we'll look at another custom turret, and this one is perfect for plopping around your base or even just attaching onto a ship if you want to have another automated turret. And it's called the HGC Belt-feed Machine gun turret, which is this lovely thing sitting right behind me. So this has dual autocannons, dual rocket launchers, a camera in the middle, and a very fancy setup on both sides where, as you can see here, we've got two rotors and a bunch of hinges in order to create that belt-fed ammunition magazine. So that simply comes from the front, all the way towards the back, and below our rocket launchers. It also features the AI block, so you can toggle that on and let it do its own thing. And it does come with a bunch of magnetic plates below this, with a button on the back, so you can handily lock and unlock this, depending on if you want to pick it up and move it somewhere else. So going like that, pressing F10, finding it in the spawn menu, the belt-fed machine gun turret is 186 small blocks, using the Warfare 2 Dex block number 3, or TomTom's, Wasteland, and Heavy Industry DLC pack. We see here that it's vanilla, it's survival ready, and it uses no scripts. So simply give this a thumbs up, move around towards the very front, have a closer look at what's going on with it, and go and test it out and I'll show you how this thing works. So right over here at the very front, what we can see is a camera to help precisely aim our Gatling guns, but we do have a very handy LCD screen right above there, where when we're in the cockpit, we do have another aiming reticle that we can adjust and use if we don't want to use the camera. Anyway, below that we then got a spotlight to light up the darkness, then of course our two autocannons to blast your enemies with. Moving up to here where our transparent LCD screen is sitting, we've got a bunch of window blocks to make sure you've got a little bit of protection while sitting in that cockpit. Then on the left and right hand side we see our rotor that comes across onto our hinges, and then link, like I said at the start, all around towards the very back, creating that belt-fed look. We come back over to the front, here we go. Down to here slightly, we then got a bunch of blaster edge blocks with another hinge on a rotor. This is going to be your primary turret setup. That's how the script is going to be functioning, and while spinning it around and lifting it up and down. Coming all the way down to the base, some grey steel blocks on some white, eventually come down to some beam blocks, and then eventually come down to some magnetic plates to clamp all the way down with. It would spin around onto the side, here we go, we've got some fantastic use for our barred window blocks. Make sure you can't accidentally fall out of your seat, and of course to help stave off one or two bullets that come towards you from the side. Now this section, there's your rocket launchers. Around towards the back there, we can see some small cargo containers for you to store your ammunition inside. At the very back of this thing, we then got a small connector ejector block. I still really want to call them ejectors, but they are small connectors. But that's how we're going to load it up with ammunition manually. And then a button on the opposite side for our magnetic plates, that's well to control them. Anyway, moving all the way up so we can look down at this thing. So there's the top of our rocket launchers. There's some conveyor caps just sitting on top of some cargo containers. There's our seat to control this thing. You will move all the way down slightly. Here we go. So this is our main cockpit view. We can see our Gatling guns. There's our cargo container. There's our LCD screen in the middle, but it won't currently display anything to actually in the cockpit. Moving all the way across and of course down underneath this thing. Here we go. That's all we can see. It's got a battery. There's the bottom of our magnetic plates. And there we go. That's about it for the outside of the HGC Belt-fed machine gun turret. And that's bloody fantastic how it's all been set up. It looks especially great considering how few blocks it's actually using, and its overall design is very distinct, especially with that yellowy belt that comes across from the back towards the front. But now what I can do is just grab hold of my character, and I can actually show you how this thing works. Getting into the cockpit, and this is our first person view. So there's our transparent LCD screen at the top there, giving us our aiming reticle. For some odd reason I was thinking it's the one down there, so do excuse that. And yes, if I bring out the HUD, press number 2, that's going to be for our camera between our Gatling guns. We don't need to worry about that. We need to press number 1, that's going to take us over to this aiming reticle, where now we can spin it all the way around. Here we go, that's the speed we can do, lifting it up and down, that's as far as we can go. Then also press number 5 and number 6. What that's going to do is now lift up our aiming reticle, so all the way up, and then all the way down, depending on how you want to range onto your enemy. If we put it like so and then switch over to the Gatling guns, we now see we're just above that, so we need to bring it all the way down, and that should be about right in that location. If we switch over to the rocket launchers, there we go, it looks about right where I have it set up. So yes, you can adjust that depending on what you want to do, and of course you can always adjust that depending on what weapons you swap out. You don't have to use Gatling guns, you don't have to use rocket launchers, you can always slap on an artillery gun, or maybe a modded weapon like a super railgun. Yes, coming into third person view of the camera, here we go. Now grabbing this once again, spinning it around, that's simply what it looks like, and we can go very quick with this. There's not really any risk of this blowing up. You do want to act quite violently with the turning, so block destruction is turned on in this world. You see there, our belt just flop around, and yes, I think it's time for me to go through the controls. So back in the first person view, here we go. Pressing number 1, that's of course what we're in right now, so we can spin it around manually, and of course use our Gatling guns. Coming out of that, pressing number 2, that's for our camera just below our LCD screen so we can actually see properly what's going on, and of course zoom all the way in. Coming out of that, press number 3, that's for your AI control over this. So you can just pop out there and let it do its own thing. Number 4 is simply a press for rocket launchers. So we don't use our mouse for this, simply a press on the keyboard, and away they go. Then number 5 and number 6 is of course what we talked about with our aiming reticle right there, so we can lift it up and move it down depending on what you want to do with it. And that's about it for the controls. So what I'm going to do now is just pop out this, spawn in a small ship, we're just going to blast it and just see what kind of damage we deal in a short amount of time. And here we go, spawn in the good old Dex Fighter, spinning it around, and I'm just going to shoot it with our autocannons. It's not going to be anything spectacular in my hands. As you can see there, we can just disable it very quickly because I do know where the battery is on this thing. Of course, we can then switch across to the rocket launcher. I suppose that is the benefit of having a separate control for the rocket launcher, is that you can then fire the autocannons and rocket launchers at the same time. But do be aware that these are not the reloadable rocket launchers, so you have to manually load them up yourself, which could take a bit of time, especially if you do need them in an emergency. You just have to hop out of this, now come across to the rocket launcher and manually load them up. There we go, it took a little time to get into them. Yes, we can get all to fire. I suppose one final thing to do, of course, is to spawn in an enemy ship that will actually fly over this, leave it in the hands of the AI, and see how that handles it. And here we go with the Dex Fighter. We can see now the turret has engaged with me. I was expecting to be a bit further away, I completely misjudged that. But you see, it's doing a great job at tracking me, especially because this is quite a speedy ship. We're now running at 150 meters per second thanks to the skybox, and we are now completely out of its range. So that did a fantastic job at tracking me. Now what I'm going to do is just fly straight over the top of it. I'll see what kind of damage it can deal with that. So here we go, now moving all the way forwards. Hopefully it can actually stop moving to the right. Now just realigning it. And here we go. So any second now it should start to open fire. Here comes the shots. And I'm just flying all the way over the top of it. Once again, it's doing a fantastic job, but it seems like if you fly fast over the top of it, it does seem to struggle to turn around and actually greet you with the bullets. So one final thing to do, of course, with this turret is to slam straight into it to see how it crumbles when we fly at 150 meters per second. So here we go, charging all the way towards it. I'll actually leave it like so. I'm going to hide the HUD. So there's the turret. It looks very odd. There we go. Now the textures have loaded it in. And should start to shoot me at any moment now. There we go. It should have detected me, but that's not going to help. There we go. We slammed straight into it. What happened to my character? I have no idea. It seemed to got ejected straight into the free camera. Where is my character? He's somewhere over there. But there's his free camera. And there is not much remaining of that poor turret. It seems like we did a very clean takeoff of the top. So there's the rotor spinning around the poor half hinge. I don't think there's anything else remaining of that turret. We can see part of the damage there where the ship glided into the ground. And it doesn't really look like there's too much else remaining. But here we go. There's part of the Dex Fighter. There's part of a tree that was collateral damage. And I think that's about it for this turret. So yes, it's a fantastic turret to use in your world if you want to have something to manually fire and shoot around. It's perfect for, like I said at the start of the video, for perimeter defense. Because it does have manual place on there. You can just drop it in place and then use it to manually fire stuff. Or just leave it to its own devices and have the AI take over it. So be linked to the description below to download and play around yourself. Highly recommend you do. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.